bell bottoms were the peg, like stretch pants were in, He just wouldn't do, just because something was cool. He just didn't care. He really was into music for the pure love of playing. Where Lars, for example, he was he loves playing, I'm not saying that, but he wasn't in it for success and money and everything else, so Cliff was, it's really a different kind of guy to where you don't meet people like that every day,
A mere month after Cliff's death, a new bassist was recruited. Jason Newsted, formerly with the B-League thrash metal band Flotsam and Jetsam, was suggested to Metallica by their old friend Brian Slagle, and after auditions of both his playing and his drinking ability, was asked to join the band. A tour of Japan followed.
The Japanese tour was just bizarre because it took place literally a month after Cliff died. They'd only had Jason in the band a couple of weeks, and they sort of put him through this initiation procedure, which was tantamount to persecution, really. They bullied him endlessly. It was all with a laugh and a joke. They used to bill their drink bills to his room, for example. They used to burst into his room at the dead of night and cover him with stuff, furniture and whatever, and shaving foam and all this stuff. Standard hijinks stuff. But it went on so long and was so kind of concentrated that I think pretty soon after that they looked back on it with a bit of regret as a serious bullying period. But Jason said a bit later on that he regarded it as a test. Could he fill Cliff's shoes? Could he handle being in a band like Metallica? And so he stood firm, which was great, because obviously he then stayed with the band for the next 15 years.
First thing we realized was that we were never ever going to find anyone like Cliff, so it was not like we were sort of looking for a Cliff Burton II or whatever, and we just needed, a bass player that would fit in. Jason has, strong individual personality and so forth, and, we'll see what happens when we start writing. We don't write on the road, so it's a little early to tell.
Jason came from a band called Flotsam and Jetsam, which they were a metal band. They were pretty good. I mean, some of their earlier stuff is pretty cool. I don't know exactly why they got him. Maybe he fit in personnel-wise or personality-wise the best. I like Jason. He's a nice guy too.
It was tough for Jason to come in and fill the spot, not even comparing them as players, but it's just even a personality. I think that was more than anything, because their styles are different. And, Jason does his thing, Cliff was great in his own way, but the personality, you just couldn't, you couldn't match that.
If you want to make comparisons between him and Cliff, he's more of like a picking bassist and stuff like that, which is fine, I guess, but if you had come from someone like Cliff, who was like all fingers and just everywhere, I think you'd want to carry that on.
Despite the constant bullying Jason received in his early months in Metallica, the new lineup gelled, and their first music together appeared in the summer of 1987 on the Garage Days Revisited EP, recorded in Lars's garage in San Francisco.
Now, you've got to remember where they were at this time. Cliff Burton had just died, and to a large proportion of Metallica fans, the band were dead as well. They didn't know how Metallica were going to carry on, if they could carry on.
Playing bass guitar for heavy metal group Metallica, Jason Newsted!
They found Jason Newsted, who'd been formerly in Flotsam and Jetsam, got him in the band, and then faced the problem. How do you get this guy accepted by the fans? The answer is you don't try and get him accepted. He will be or he won't be. But they felt to go straight in and make an album with new material would have been asking for trouble. They wanted a buffer, and what better buffer than do a record do a record with Jason, but to do a record of known songs, but aren't their own. So they don't immediately get criticised for the style and quality of the new material. This is almost like they're exposing their roots. So you've got Budgie, Diamond Head, Killing Joke, the Misfits, and a Scottish band from the new wave of British heavy metal called Holocaust. And they came out with this EP and said, this is Jason Newsted, please welcome him to the fold, but these aren't our own songs. This is a covers album. Of course, in this day and age, everybody does covers album. At the time, people were going, what on earth? This is crazy. But it was a brilliant move because it allowed Jason to ease into the band without feeling the pressure of everybody saying, oh, the new material sucks when you compare it to Cliff's material. Because how could you argue with classics like Crash Course and Brain Surgery by Budgie, or The Wait by Killing Joke, or Helpless by Diamond Head? You couldn't. So it's a very shrewd move.
After this promising start,